to check and see if the game is ready. So for those just tuning in, this is the OpenDiv Qualifier Promotion Series into the Premier League that covered an 8th spot. It's between P2PA Academy up against White Girl Wasted. It is a best of 3 set. So the teams are looking to secure, if you want an easy 2-0. But you know what, GL, it hasn't been that night. They haven't been quick games.
No.
They've been long. They've been furious games. We could be going to 3 maps. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, we've already had 6 games over the course of the night. Can we just make it a quick tour?
Let's go 9 games, GL.
No.
Don't give me that. It's 2-1 or nothing here. Just give you some information. So there was a bit of a playoff tonight between a few of the teams. There was P2PA and Milkshakes and White Girls Wasted and Capital. Now P2PA beat Team Milkshake 2-1, but White Girl Wasted actually beat Team Capital 2-0. So if you're looking at that information there, did White Girl Wasted have an easier run, or did they have a more dominating victory? So a bit interesting to see which team is going to come out on top. Both very veteran lineups, very veteran rosters, and sadly only one can go to OpenDiv. Sorry, only one can go to Premier League. I mean,
well, technically that is true. Only one of these teams will go to
back to OpenDiv. Yes.
Yes, they'll go back into OpenDiv, whereas the winning team will qualify and be the 8th roster for the Premier Division. And we're starting out on Towers of Doom, and we're talking about wanting reasonably quick games. Well, I was wanting reasonably quick games. Towers of Doom is a map that can drag out a little bit because of the way the mechanics are, how you're not able to directly impact the core by walking up to it and smacking it. You have to go through all the objectives throughout the map and have to try and edit through that. It can drag out. And the thing with that is also, it's never over, even if you have 1 HP on your core. Yes, you're in a really rough situation and it looks really bad, but it's still possible to have a comeback from even 1 HP core.
We've seen, particularly in the ANZ region, like one tournament, I think we had something like, a 28, like a 28 or like a 36 shot or 40 shot damage, moments.
That was back when there was a late game 3 altar phase and they just won a big team fight and then just switched over all the bell towers and fired everything away. And it was just, I'm glad we don't get those massive shenanigans towards late game.
It has made this a very drawn out.
Often,
It has made our Towers of Doom very drawn out. And I think that's probably one of the beauties behind it, like you were saying earlier, is that you can't just rush the core. Even if you have a great team fight, you can't close out the game. So you have to think of advantages in other ways. Grabbing mercs, grabbing the boss, or even just grabbing more lane pressure in the form of the structures.
Well, we are into the draft, and even though we've switched from the next mania patch to the current patch, some things are still the same. Garrosh, very strong. Genji is still very strong and not wanting to be... neither team wants to go up against it, so they're banned away. But interestingly enough, the Diablo gets picked up because we didn't see it at all through the 2 days of Premier Division, but we get to see it now. But it does leave the Malfurion, who is still pretty damn good.
Not only to be picked up, but it also leaves a tank like Johanna to be picked up as well, and a multitude of other options. Garage off the board does really hurt that. Locking in Murden, just going for a solid lineup. So Towers of Doom, it really does encourage those strong team fight situations because you are fighting around the objectives, and these objectives don't necessarily equate to experience like we see in other ones. Cursed Hollow.
And also to note, again, going from next mania patch to current patch, the changes to experience on the outer towers, not as much. You're not going to be able to really explode your experience from taking down those, and also a lot of the passive armors of the tank. So Johanna, her base armor was shredded away. Things like Arthas, I believe in Ubarak, Tyrael, I think, lost it as well. Just a lot of the base armors were taken away, and so things like heroes like Murden, who were good even though they didn't have that armor, still quite strong.
Yeah, it's really made like the whole tank playing field a bit equalized now. But lock in Li Ming and Sonya. Sonya, someone that's been escaping the bruiser role all night. It just sort of really shows the difference in the sort of metas in just between, say, like the Premier League and the Open Division side, where we do have, Sonya being more prevalent over a character like Blaze.
Yeah, and it's still on the table. I wouldn't be too surprised to see it banned away, just not wanting to deal with the bunker. And it would also, the bunker would interrupt a lot of the potential Li Ming reset plays. If you go for one, all of a sudden they're in a bunker and you shift forward, all of a sudden you don't have that extra ability to maneuver around. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see it banned away. It's very strong, but I have to see how it goes.
Like I said, it depends how these teams have played. So the open div is something that I don't get to see a lot of myself, unfortunately. And because of that, we don't know how these teams generally operate. Do they go for that Blaze? Do they go for that bunker play? They may not do it. It may not be something that's even a factor in the lineup of both teams.
One thing I will say is that Diddypone on Diablo, that's one of those staples of Hero League, I guess we could say. So not too unsurprising to see if he's going to go towards that, but that's actually going to be the Hanzo ban, wanting to get rid of the Archer, not wanting to deal with that. His control around the neutrals is always very good, and as we're mentioning, getting those sappers of quickly and efficiently and controlling the tempo is very powerful, and just not want to deal with that. Yeah,
that's it. And we know that's one of the powers of Hanzo, just being able to help with the mercenary camps.
Now we see where it looks like Pleb to Pro are going to go. They still need their DPS lineup to be fleshed out. Things like the Jaina are available, things like the Phoenix. There's still quite a lot on the table that they can go for. The Tracer is there, but then do they want to pick up a Tesla potentially alongside that to go for the trio combo? I mean, you could theoretically go with just the Malfurion and the Tracer because those two together do pair very well. Whether or not they want to go with that into something like a Diablo who can lock her down rather quickly, that could be a bit of a risk.
Maev and Malfiel locked in.
Very melee heavy coming out for this lineup, the Maev and the Malfiel. So.
I mean, you're looking at your lanes, so the Malfiel's a great solo laner, so he can just sort of dominate in the top lane by himself. So if he acts as a bit more of a solo individual in that sense, that might be where they're looking at. Malfiel's not really attending most of the team fights until the objectives start spawning. But you're right, they are very self-contained with the Muradin, the Maev, and with Melee. If it was anyone else, I'd say that might be a bit of a problem. But they're up against the Li Ming, which is looking to be more single target damage anyway. So with a big body like Muradin in the front line, he's probably going to absorb the majority of the hits, or maybe it'll just be Malfiel or Maev, never both.
I'll have to see how they do finalize their roster. I do think they need a bit of extra punch coming in from range for the side of Pleb to Pro. But looking at the side of Wygo Wasted, they need the support and potentially another DPS. It's actually going to be Alex Straza, interestingly. They are going to go with that. And the Cassia actually makes a lot of sense looking at the melee-heavy lineup of Pleb to Pro. A lot of those blinds are going to really mitigate some of the damage that they're going to be able to impart. And also, the Umbral Chains does get negated by a blind because it doesn't technically hit with a melee.
Yeah, it doesn't connect. So that's a really good pickup there. Someone we don't see a lot of is Cassia. And Alex Straza as well. We normally see her on maps that are spawning some sort of minions around the objective as well, where she can pressure them with her Dragon Queen form. But in this setup, I guess it's more just the pressuring around those objective points.
As you mentioned, maps usually like Infernal Shrines of Volskaya, where you are around a specific area and you want to be fighting over an area, is where she usually finds a lot of her value. But interestingly enough, coming into this map on Towns of Doom, we'll be able to almost secure them, reasonably easily secure them some of those altars. But outside of that, I have to see how it works out. It's actually going to be a Kel'Thuzad. I almost said Kel'Thuzad.
Well, because they're both KT.
the other KT. I was like, Kel'Thuzad. That one. I was wanting some more range damage coming out from them, but to be honest, I would have wanted something like a Greymane, to be honest, because he would also give them the option to join in with the melee, but then again, you would be playing into the Cassia's strong point. So the Kael'thas does bring a bit of a different style of damage coming in with this Pleb to Pro lineup. We'll have to see how it works once we get into it, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think I would have liked maybe like a Jaina or something a little bit more, something that'd be a little bit safer, pull back. KT can sort of have to try and go in and drop the damage. But yeah, I never dislike KT, right? He's always doing a lot of damage. Those living bomb spreads can be so detrimental to the enemy team. And it's going to work its way around a lot of the any sort of armor effects which are there on the side of the side of Cassia or the side of Diablo, with the armor on the shadow charge and things like that. But he's got to be careful. He's got to be careful. Kael'thas has always been that mage that once he gets targeted and the Diablo, the Digipone, he's going to do a great job just throwing KT all around the place.
Yeah, I think a lot of how these fights are going to go depends on the positioning of the squishy members of Pleb to Pro. If they're able to keep them alive, they can do a lot of work. But if, as you mentioned, KT gets taken out at the start of a fight, I do think that's a lot of their burst damage out of the way, and it could be very rough for them to stick around.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to wait to it. So this is a Pleb to Pro Academy up against White Girl Wasted in a final series, best of 3 to determine who joins the Premier League, coveted 8th position. Both teams are riding up now. We didn't announce their names because we are too busy talking about the matchup. So it gets underway. Both teams clearing out the mid lane, looking for maybe a nice little kill if possible, but really just looking to clear it out and then rotate to their corresponding lanes to continue the soak and really just wait for the first round of towers to spawn.
Yeah, don't need to get too aggressive just yet. Just wait on it. Just wait until the objectives come up and then start to make some of those big plays. And especially once you start getting some of those talents, can really make a big difference for some of these heroes.
Yeah, that's it. And look at that, we're just looking at, speaking of talents, KT has taken Mana Addict at level 1, the safer talent. We're always excited to see if maybe we see a convection come out.
No convection. It's just a bait every single time. Don't go for it, please. Just stick with a Mana Addict. It's actually good, and it's safe.
And that's something you need on KT. You need to be safe against the enemy team, especially when they've got characters like Diablo and Sonya just waiting to make your acquaintance.
Absolutely, and any kind of mispositioning from this KT is going to get punished very easily. We do have an attempt at an invade, but I'm not sure if it's going to work out for Pleb to Pro. They have to back away.
It's really interesting actually play here from the P2P Academy team. They're looking to put high gank pressure on sort of like mid and bottom lanes there. They didn't be effective for him. But look at Malfield, they planned around this, and he's actually taken on a pale horse, where he actually gains additional movement speed while mounted to make big plays like that. But in the bottom lane there, they are trying to put, again, another big play from Maev going in. Bobgo could be in a lot of trouble there. Look at that Diablo do the body blocking there, working a treat. We see here Cassie is coming in now, she's looking to do some damage, but Pleb to Pro Academy, they're just out of there.
Yeah, they were trying to get a pick onto the isolated members of White Girl Wasted, but they weren't able to secure the kill. And at that point, they just weren't able to stick around because with Bobgo getting thrown into those towers, was not in a good position. As speaking of which, Lorne is in a bit of an awkward situation, but the rest of the team comes up to help.
Oh, we talk about awkward. It's Diablo that found himself in the spot. He's managing to just get away, but he will finally get taken out by Maev. And that's just, this really opened up this first round of alters on the side of Pleb to Pro now. Diablo's going to spawn within 2 seconds of them spawning, but it's given him a great opportunity to get a couple of other ganks, capture this bottom tower, and capture the top one as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be a 2-for-1 in terms of towers going, of altars going over to the side of Pleb to Pro, and very wisely, like always said, they're just going to play it very cautiously. They realize they're down a member, they're not able to really force the tempo at this point. So just succumb to the pressure and allow themselves to drop that one. It's not too bad. I mean, they're still in it when it comes to the experience. It's just, it's not really too much of a big impact to give up that first ult.
Yeah, it's not detrimental, you know. It's at the end of the day, it's a safer play if you just only take one and let the enemy take two anyway. And it's not a runaway game by any means. Just looking at the across the board now on the talent selections for a Wise Go Wasted, what I really kind of like is how sustainable or self-sustainable they are. You know, obviously Alex Strata is their own heal, but Cassie has taken the Ring of Leech at level 4. You know, with the reduce the cooldown of Hurricane by 2 seconds, and then even the dominance from Li Ming. You know, when they're in these team fights, they can actually self-sustain for a reasonable amount of time. And when people start falling over, start dying to the enemy team, Li Ming even gets to stay in the fight longer.
Yeah, it is one of those team compositions where if the team fight is continuing to go, it feels like it's going to go more and more in favor of Wise Go Wasted. But if they're able to just secure the kill immediately for P2PA, they're able to kill someone immediately, they can just start to turn it. But they're taking a lot of damage trying to push in onto the structures, and they're forced back as return damage did get put onto the members of Wise Go Wasted, but we're now going to start to get 2 ulters on the top side. A bit of an interesting situation for both these teams, as they're both even on the experience, even on talent. It's just about how the fights are going to go.
Be swift.
Yeah, like it depends how brazen each team gets. You know, is either team going to send a scout, try and interrupt the pickup? Look at this, actually, Wise Go Wasted are late to the party here. There's an option to P2PA to think about trying to invade onto it, decide to play it safe and try and soak extra experience and get him in that regards.
Yeah, yet again, just trading, not needing to put yourself out on a limb to try and get something to work in your favor. It's okay to give up one of them, just trading. And just wait until you get some of those big power points, especially the level 10 for the side of Wise Go Wasted. You do have, I do believe we'll be going with the Lightning Breath, which is what we've been seeing more most often with the Diablo, which will pair quite nicely with the rest of the composition, just allowing the rest of the team to be much freer in these team fights. Much like how we saw earlier in the night with the Earthquakes, just controlling the pace of the fights. Similar thing with the Lightning Breath, but it does force him to stick in one place.
Yeah, the slow is massive that we add to the Lightning Breath. It really does change the flow of a fight. However, if you look at the lineup, Apocalypse potentially still has a place. But, you know, it could go either way. They'll decide at level 10. They'll decide at level 10 when we get there. But look at that, you know, Kratos looking a bit blazing there, just goes in, does that turn around immediately, wanting to stay for that engagement. And look at that, Wise Go Wasted, they know that level 10 is fast approaching for P2PA Academy. They're going to back out before a bit of a misfortune happens, and they pick up that level 10 now anyway. So it's all been equalized. Like every moment is the great equalizer in this game. No one is getting ahead.
Yeah, and now is where things can start to get really interesting. Both teams level 10, where you have a single altar spawning towards the middle of the map. Have to see who is going to get the advantage, as Logo is going to get found out by Diddy Pong, but doesn't actually get locked down yet. And it is actually going to be the Apocalypse, so no fun Lightning Breath plays. And it's actually going to be a Valkyrie coming out of the Cassia, so they want to pick out that one member and isolate them and take care of them.
Yep. Now, that's a pretty good play because of their self-sustain, right? If they can remove someone early on in the situation and just get one kill, it works out pretty well for them. Look at that, Corrality gets a nice little defense there against... Oh, look at that, we actually see Disintegration Ray picked up for Li Ming as well. Disintegrate.
Yeah, just to a little bit of extra poke on the point, and a little bit of that extra damage as the Warning Cage does get dropped, but they are just going to be able to immediately take out members of actually both sides.
Yeah, look at that, Li Ming dropping, but we can see Malfi. Bob got in a lot of trouble there. They're following up. Krazometer wants it. He's going forward. He does have the support of Alex Strauss. It doesn't hit with the chain, but Qualifier jumps at the gate, but doesn't connect. Doesn't need to back out because the Dragon Storm offers no armor. So you do take quite a reasonable amount of damage. So that situation there, the shots did go in favor of Academy, but there was some trading going down, and so neither team manages to accelerate a victory in their favor just yet.
Yeah, it was just 1-for-1 in the grand scheme of things. A lot of the squishy members getting pretty much detonated.
Crucified.
Exactly. But throughout all of that, Lorne was just securing the shots for them, so they are reasonable. Two full alters ahead of the game, so they're in a pretty good spot, and they'll be pretty happy if things keep on going the way they are.
Look at that, setting up now. They're thinking about their Digipon's going. When they're putting a lot of pressure onto Maiev. Back that Maev's got the bind on the hell, will lock him down. Repositions the team here. Valkyrie comes out, fails to connect to anyone. So heroics have been wasted, but it's on both sides, and both teams deciding to disengage from this encounter.
Yeah, if they were able to get that Valkyrie onto that KT, that would have been massive coming into these next altars, which are coming up in 25 seconds, which makes the use of those heroics sting a little bit more because they won't have that coming into these next fights.
I think the biggest one is probably more the Valkyrie on Cassia. Everyone else is going to be up and ready, where Valkyrie's still going to have about 20 seconds. So it will be effective at the end of the fight, but it's not there for the start of it. And look, the fight's on the way right now. Diablo looking there, poising, looking to grab someone. Once Lorne backs out for a Bobcott. Does shadow charge him, but doesn't overpower him just yet. Looking for positioning now. Pressure going on, does throw him over the top. No follow-up. The damage is slowly coming out from Li Ming as she fires the shots in.
Yeah,
but that's it. They're just surviving. This team's survivability is off the charts.
Oh,
they're going to kill on Malfew.
And they get the Valkyrie onto Rykors.
Oh, beautiful. That's what they were looking for. Can they connect? Can they get the damage onto it? Apocalypse comes out, doesn't connect, but doesn't matter because they did get the kill anyway. And finally, one of the teams has a significant flow go in their favor, and that's going to allow them to expedite a little bit in experience, in positioning on the map, as well as core shots. Interesting enough, however, it only puts WGW back into this same amount of damage taken as P2P.
Yeah, so in the end, it is just equalizing the core health at this point. Yeah,
it should be bigger than a GL. It should be bigger, but it's not.
Yeah, they got a massive fight, but it just equalizes core strength. So that's one of the things about this map is that you can just go side by side up until the very end until inevitably things will end. That's all we can say is that inevitably this game will end. But for right now, it is just been back and forth. Just trading and just sticking side by side.
Oh, I can't wait to see a tower GL where all 10 players are dead.
Towers don't do anything at this point anymore. They took a lot of the experience out of them. They don't do it.
It was beautiful. All right, so getting back on track of this game right now. So we see White Girl Wasted picking up mercenary camps in the top lane. Zeus cannot do anything about it. Will eat an orb to the face and a bit of a disintegration ray, which is a suspicious looking color, I'll say at least. But it's going to be able to push that lane out. Going back down into mid now, Cassia by herself does have to be scared of a 4-man rotation coming up to the mid lane to put pressure onto it. As while the Wise Girl Wasted, the rest of the team cleans up the bottom line.
Yeah, it's just back to neutral, just waiting for those next objectives to come back on the table. There's going to be 3 altars, which could be a massive swing in one favor as they do get the lockdown onto the Malfurion, but interrupted as well.
Yeah, Valkyrie misses target, but bigger pocket comes out. Ready to get the Malfurion taken out. That's what we like. Li Ming dropping some deeps on there, looking for a Maiev kill if they could. No, Maiev managed to escape. Quali's gone into Dragon Form, putting pressure on. They find it. They find themselves the Bobcott. They got the overpower. He's already used his lead. Not to great avail, and it's actually Alex Straza that gets the kill. That's why they call it a life binder, binding the corpse to the ground, I guess. I don't know. But it's a bad situation for the players. Left the Pro Academy. As, did they manage to get that tower? Or no, they did.
Purple Pro did get their own tower, so they were able to secure that for themselves.
Yep.
Wyco West were just a little bit slow in trying to make that contest, but they are able to get the one on the bottom side, and also eventually the one on their side of the map, which puts them for the first time in this game in the lead when it comes to core damage, and they are starting to get a lead when it comes to experience. They're at level 16, so they have the talent tier advantage. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to leverage this for anything, because there's nothing really on the board at the moment. There has been Sabacan being taken on the bottom side, but beyond that, there's not really much to fight over.
Yeah, there's no way to generate pressure unless you do a risky boss.
Yeah, yeah, that's not going to happen at this point in the game. unless
Yeah,
we
the
get
boss-
some kind of play. Oh, good lockdown.
Oh, speaking of play, oh, nice ice block there. Doesn't prevent the Valkyrie. Doesn't matter, however, in a dangerous situation. Maya comes in, drops the gate. Is not going to help. Grabs Hill, pulls her in. Looking for the Leeming Hill. Leeming teleports out of the way. Still being chased with
Oh,
it.
cleansing flame.
Down, but it's going to be enough. But they do have to trade out Cassia for it. However, they do change their backing out more damage to Great Ray. They want KT. They can
Here
feel it.
comes
They're going
Sonya.
back in. And look, there's Crazometer.
Oh, never mind.
To hook, but it doesn't matter because it pulls them anyway.
Oh.
There, and matter at a
Oh, wow.
great value. Definitely paying for itself right then, keeping KT alive. But still, when you look at the board, Gio, 3 members are dead for Pleb to Pro Academy.
Yeah, they did get the kill back onto the Cassia. They didn't even need the Pyroblast, which the KT did throw out. They were able to secure it for themselves, but they are starting to get behind more and more on the side of Pleb to Pro. They have to be a little bit careful with how they come into some of these fights. And essentially what is happening is what we were describing throughout the draft, is that this backline needs to be on top of their positioning, because those last few fights, Lorne and I believe it is Rykos on the Kalthas, they've been getting caught out of position by not only the Diablo, but also by the Valkyrie coming out of this Cassia. And once those go down, the rest of the fight just collapses.
Yeah, it just spells disaster for him. Look, right now, look at all that damage KT's taken. He does have a heal from Lorne, but he still doesn't want to be in this situation. Look at that, with that nice sort of controlling of the space there. We see heal on Li Ming, just throwing out some random missiles. To like,
oh, the perfect
nice
kill.
Valkyrie onto the Malfurion, into the Apocalypse. That is big. The death actually goes onto our
Oh, boy.
behind all of that. No, it's just a big explosion all of a sudden. And Mayab and
Hey.
Malfurion gone. We do see Murder next to fall, and KT is getting pressured. You see a big dive there by Diablo, and it is the team that screw the kill. Wow, that was an explosive situation.
That's exactly what I wanted to see out of this combo that Wanko Works do have. They need the lockdown, and the follow-up damage was incredible. They were able to take care of, well, what was initially just the Malthael, but then the Valkyrie picked off that Malfurion. But having the same names, everything
Yeah,
is so
the
annoying.
Mouth Brothers.
The mouth, the KTs, so many of them, so annoying. But they were able to get the Malfurion, and at that point, the rest of the fight just exploded because, as we're saying, the Li Ming reset city is too much to deal with.
Yeah, that's it. That was murder she wrote on the side of White Gear Wasted. Death. Then another Valkyrie comes in, nice pull stance, however, keeping Li Ming out of the game. Malfield gets the kill, looking good. Looking at falling onto Quality now, who also is prepared to fall. He's already used his teleport, so he's in a bad situation. He can't escape. And Dragon, so he won't be able to escape in that regard. And we see a nice big Pyroblast come out, and it does connect, but not enough for damage. Diablo going in, seeing if we can get a cheeky follow-up kill. Doesn't quite confirm just yet. Goes back, finally gets it. The assistance of the fortification will keep. And that's it. Play just resumes as per normal.
Yeah, in the end, it was a 2-for-2. The Muradin ended up dying just 2.
Oh, Diablo's doing
actually.
still going in for his action. It is not
Yeah,
done.
never mind.
It doesn't. This game does not finish. You might say it finished, KT. Diablo goes back in. Digipone is poning the Pleb to Pro Academy right now.
Yeah, just getting those level 20 and also just taking the Hellgate, just making the play happen, making the most of those Storm talents. And they are in a pretty damn good position now after what was a rather stale back and forth for the start of the game. They're able to really cement themselves a lead in this game and are in a good position to finish it off.
They feel it. They can smell. They can smell the blood on their opponents. Feel the victory. They're level 20. Their opponent's only 18. Oh, look at that. Cassia by herself. Doesn't matter. Gets the Valkyrie on. Doesn't still, unfortunately. But still good there. Oh, no. Is that... No, I thought that was KT. No, it is Maya. Has managed to escape out. But even then, look at the damage. Just stay away. We took your We took your key. Shoo.
This is ours now.
Victory prize.
Yeah. And they can afford to be very aggressive with its defense. They have the talent, they have the experience, they have the power in their favor. And they are going to try and force those sappers in. They don't actually get all the way in there, but behind all of that, they were able to grab an altar, and that puts the core health of the Pro down to 6. Not much left on that core. They have to be very careful with how they play out the rest of this game as Rykor steps forward, takes so much damage.
Oh. Li Ming just punching it out. I mean, it's not over for Pleb the Pro Academy. It is a bit of a long strut to get back there. But if they can pick up level 20, if they can re-secure this, fortification, keeping the bottom lane, they can look at taking it back to the enemy team. There are no 3-tower situation anymore, so they can always defend 2 points quite readily. So the game is still in anyone's ballpark. But you know what? Pleb the Pro Academy, they have to work for it. White Girl Wasted is just going to get this handed to them on a platter.
Yeah, they can keep on playing this style, just force away this defense. They're even trying to throw these sappers through, which could very well happen if Lurizen is not careful about it. Wherever it goes down, but they are going to end up
2 shots, that's boss category.
3 of them went through. And this is looking like it's going to be dire straits coming out for Pleb to Pro. There's one altar on the bottom of the map, and they can't get to there in really efficient manner. They're having to go through awkward situations as they do get the lockdown onto Lurizen.
DJ, that's not looking good. However, Mal's going in. He's doing a lot of damage. This could change the situation there. Pressuring on, they do have the fortification damage against them. He does finally fall. That's 2 down now. It's a 3v5. Now looking good. 2v5. The chase is on. They're looking for more kills. Bob got acting as a defensive line, trying to defend against this. But
doesn't really matter. Going for the altar.
Cassie's gone for the altar. The game is set. It's just extra kills on the board now. Can they get it? Bob goes defensively heavy, but cannot make it. And now they go for an extra shot. Well, that's it. GG game 1 in favor of a White Girl Wasted. What an explosive second half of that game, GL. It was a little bit slow at the start there, but then White Girl Wasted found the opening they were looking for. They stole the credit cards. They brought all the booze on our dads, off the bank account, and they went to town on Pleb the Pro Academy.
Yeah, they really just stuck it to him, and that's essentially what we're looking at with these compositions. They played out exactly how we expected them to. Once we got into late game, the positioning of the Malfune and the Calfast were just slightest bit out, and they got punished by Deepone on the Diablo and also Spazzo on the Cassia. Were able to get the Valkyries or just standard flanking play from a Diablo, lock them down. And once those are down, a lot of that team fight just fell apart. They just couldn't really do too much about it.
Yeah, they were like one of my favorite sayings. They were like a lone baby in the woods at night, surrounded by a pack of wolves. They had nothing. They had nothing that they could do for that later half of the game, unfortunately. But you know what? That's kind of been the MO for all the games tonight, right? First game is very dominating, but second and third become much more competitive. We're going to find out, can White Girl Wasted take it out 2-0 tonight, or are we going to go for a full sweep? And maybe, just maybe, Prep the Pro Academy can go 2-1 with a reverse sweep. We are quickly about to find it.
9 games tonight.
Of course we do. I don't understand what your point is, Gio. That's awesome. All right, guys. So while we're waiting for the next game to get up, let's give another quick shout out to McDonald's Australia, helping support. They are the sponsor and helping support the HC ANZ Premier League this phase. Huge shout out to them on coming on board and growing, and not just Heroes of the Storm, but the esports scene in Australia and New Zealand.
Always appreciate all the assistance. It's great to see, and it's very interesting to see how this next game goes. It's going to be on Infernal Shrines, so there is potential for a quick one to happen. But there's also the potential with this map to go for a long time.
3 games, GL. I refuse any other options.
Can I refuse that option?
No, it's looking good. Like, we did see that Pleb Pro Academy, they definitely have some solid gameplay tactics, sort of strategies in mind. But we do see they start to fall apart in a high pressure situation. I think just then we need to point out how devastating Diablo was against the KT. And remember that they did draft KT into it, knowing about the Diablo pick.
The Diablo was the very first pick. So they knew about it that entire draft, that was what they were going to be going into. And they allowed themselves to go into that matchup, and they got punished by it. But they, as you mentioned, they did keep up with White Girl Wasted for a lot of that early game, and we did quite well. They were able to secure 2 of the first 3 altars, so they were in the lead when it comes to core health for a decent amount of it.